Hey Eric, how you doing?
I'm good, Bob. How are you?
What's your shirt say?
It's a Texas Ranger shirt.
Okay, going with the winner. That's good. Um, hey, how's Trevin responded in practice after playing, pretty significant minutes the other night? And what would be the plan for him against Purdue?
Yeah, so TB's done a great job. I think his intensity and workload has increased. You know, especially yesterday. So I don't think there'll be a heavy uh, minutes restriction on him at all. To be honest with you, I mean, I think that um, probably 15 to 25 that
So
we're, we feel comfortable playing him.
did you say you kind of froze up there? Did you say 15 to 25? It sounded like.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And then it's funny he's 6'10", but I guess he's giving away like 5 or 6 inches to ED. What kind of what's the plan? So the guys were saying it's always got to be team defense, even if you're playing man to man. Just kind of how do you prepare for a big guy like that?
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons that we were so excited about playing Purdue is you're talking about, um, maybe the hardest player in college basketball to game plan against because of his size, because of his skill level, and because of his teammates that play surrounding him. Coach Painter's done a great job of getting shooting to surround a player that's got great skill interior. So I would say that this prep to prepare for Coach Painter team, they're tough. They execute a lot of continuity. I would say that they're for sure way ahead of where we are today, and they're probably way ahead of a lot of other programs. And then you add in the fact that they played 4 games overseas with a bunch of returners. This is a team that's going to present a lot of things that we need to try to cover between now and Saturday afternoon.
And how did this game come about? Did you call Purdue? Did they call you? Or how this thing get put together?
Yeah, Coach Todd Lee had been talking to the Purdue staff, and then Coach Painter and I have a relationship, just through the Nike coaches things that we've done, and from afar, I've always had great respect for how hard his teams play and how well coached they are, and from an execution standpoint, and certainly to get a chance to play somebody in an exhibition game, to be able to play a team that has a chance to win a national championship certainly makes this game, way more meaningful and way more special than just a normal exhibition game when you look at lessons that can be learned once this game is over.
I might have a couple more. I'll turn it back to Mike. Thanks.
Jackson?
Hey Eric, just curious, coming out of this game against UT Tyler, you mentioned kind of wanting the team to be a little bit more physical and saying that you're going to work on that in practice this week. How'd that go? How have they responded? And like, in what ways really are you looking for some more physicality maybe against Purdue?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we, it's yesterday was, day one of the practice week, and I thought it was a really good practice, a very physical practice. Purdue, obviously the physicality with Edey inside, the physicality of number 4, Kaufman Wren. Those two guys are physical. Number 1, First, is really physical as well. Zero Gillis is another physical player. And then their guards are just so scrappy. So we've got to have physicality 1 through 5 positionally as we prepare for Purdue. And then certainly, the physicality on the glass, because they do a great job when the ball goes into number 15, Edey. They do a great job of cutting with force to offensive rebound from their 4 spot. So defensive blockouts become extremely important as well. But I thought yesterday we had a good practice as far as preparation. But again, we understand internally that Purdue is, just based on their returners and roles and understanding expectations, they're probably way ahead of where we are, not only today, but where we will be, even 2 weeks from today. But it's a great game for us for sure.
And I think when we spoke with you in August, I think you mentioned just like lessons from the Texas game last year helped you in the NCAA tournament way down the road. I'm just wondering, like, are there any specific questions you might have like at the top of your brain that you'd like to kind of maybe learn about the team after the Purdue scrimmage?
Yeah, well, I think one, Jackson, to be able to play a team that's got an interior force like, Edey, and is a, potential player of the year. So it's twofold in the preparation. Number one, we're playing against a center that might be unlike anybody that we play all year. But we need to have, some background, some body of work that we can refer to later in the year. And then from a scheme standpoint, what Purdue's going to do, we're going to be able to really dive into our preparation because they have so many returners. And so we can build a scouting report off the fact that the coach is returning, the players are returning, their star players returning, their star point guard, number 3, Smith, is a returner coming off a fabulous freshman year. So we want to kind of like, where are we against a top 3 team in the country like this early in the year? How do we stack up with a great rebounding team? How do we stack up with one of the top 3 premier teams in the country? What a great opportunity for us to learn a lot about ourselves, which, I mean, when we walk out of Bud Walton on Saturday, at about 5:30 or 6 o'clock, we're going to know a lot more areas that we've got to get better leading into our first game.
Curtis?
Hey, Coach, I know it's a group effort to defend a guy like Edey, but, Makai kind of stands out as your biggest, most experienced body inside. I imagine he'll get a healthy dose of that matchup. Just what do you make of this kind of challenge for him in the preseason? And maybe what growth have you seen from him from, the UConn game to now?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, Kai went through a stretch this summer of being injured. He missed a good part of our off season with a broken foot, but he did a great job continuing to lift weights with our strength coach. I think in this particular game, Chandler Lawson will get an opportunity to guard Edey, and obviously Kai will get an opportunity to guard him. Jalen Graham, if he's able to suit up, would possibly get a chance to go in and guard him, maybe Bayfall. So there's a lot of different guys that might get the opportunity, but certainly Kai and Chandler are the 2 players on our roster that have the experience maybe of defending some of the more physicality guys that we could see, because it's not just Edey. Again, Kaufman-Wren is really, really physical as well inside, and was their leading scorer in their 4 games overseas. So and they'll play 2 centers together. There's a possibility that 15 Edey will play alongside Kaufman-Wren, and then we have a decision whether we'll match up big to big or whether we'll go with a big and a small and add perimeter shooting and dribble drive game against maybe 2 bigs. So those are some of the things that we'll look to experiment with once we get into that 40-minute experimental game.
And you've touched on these guys a little bit, but I wanted to ask you specifically about Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, a couple guys who did a lot for that team last year as true freshmen. They've got a year under their belt now. Just what's your take on that backcourt?
Yeah, both. I mean, it's as good a backcourt as you're going to face. Both guys can make threes. Obviously, Smith's got great defensive awareness, and his steal numbers show that. They're both really, really high basketball players. Obviously, Lawyer's father's a longtime NBA coach and executive, and Lawyer presents problems because he understands passing angles from an offensive standpoint. He understands how to move without the ball to get himself open. Just a really, really phenomenal backcourt. And then number 55, Jones, the transfer from Southern Illinois. He's a guy that can take high volume of threes, take high volume field goal attempts in his minutes. So those three guards in particular, can all present problems for you.
Touch.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned Graham just the other day. I know it's been a couple of days since the exhibition. Just how's he doing?
He tried, yesterday. It was, I don't know. It was okay. We'll see today. I mean, he tried, but he was not going game speed or at the rate that we're not going to play him if he's like he was yesterday. I can tell you that.
Gotcha. And I think I know the answer to this, but I mean, you played Texas last year, you got Purdue this year. Is this something you'd like to do every year, play a high profile game like this as an exhibition?
Yeah, I don't have the stuff in front of me at all, Hutch, but you go all the way back to Nevada when we played Washington. We scheduled Washington because we felt like, we were going to get a whole dose of 40 minutes of zone, which is what we got. Our Nevada teams needed to improve against the zone. They had Thibault, who's a heck of an NBA defender, at the top of their zone. So there was, I don't know how many years ago, we were one of the first teams that understood the rule of how you could navigate and have a Division I team play you rather than a secret scrimmage, those are absolutely unequivocally meaningless. The ones that I've been a part of, actually a waste of time. The ones that I've been a part of, I remember San Francisco beating us at Arizona State by 49 points the day after Halloween. Meant nothing at all to our team or anything. So we like the dress rehearsals, I think, too, because of the fact that changing rosters. I think that it's important. I think this game's really good for Coach Painter and Purdue because we're going to have a great crowd. They're going to draw crowds wherever Purdue goes. They're going to be sold out probably every game that they go on the road because they're ranked so high and because of the returning group that he has and because they have a National Player of the Year candidate that just doesn't come into opposing buildings often. So I think this game's going to be great for them too, to play an exhibition game in front of a crowd that, right now I think we're at 14,000 seats that are sold. That's not counting the 3,000 seats that'll be held for the student body. So that's going to be really, really good for their team too, to play in front of a good crowd as well.
And you mentioned the dress rehearsal aspect of it. Does that apply to the scouting reports? Because we know all about your extensive scouting reports, and you got new players. Does this kind of help them with that? In an exhibition game?
I think so. We certainly don't want to go into our first game and all of a sudden it's culture shock on the preparation and what the expectations are of understanding an opposing team's second and third option in trying to take away something. So yeah, this is going to be trial by error for a lot of our new guys, because this is the first time that we're going to really dive into what we're trying to get accomplished, both offensively and defensively, based on what the film shows us. The Division II game the other night against Tyler, we basically only looked at their personnel. I thought we took a huge leap in understanding player personnel, and I thought we did a great job taking away the individual skill that the Tyler group had, other than the fact that we left their left-hander get middle on the side of the block that we were supposed to take away. But that was good learning experience for Bayfall to understand that if we say a guy goes over his right shoulder and he's left-handed and wants to shoot a jump hook on the right block, you better take that away. And so that's it's good for a guy to experience that and maybe get taken out of a game when the scouting report's not followed as it's supposed to be.
Scotty?
Eric, I'm curious, what have your impressions been of L to this point in the preseason? And is he doing, I guess, the kinds of things that you'd hoped for when you got him?
Yeah, I mean, Elle and I had a lot of talks leading up to this on, look, he's put points on the board at the Division I level. He's put points on the board junior college. He's put points on the board against Power 5 teams on the road. You look at what he did in his conference last year against great competition. Now how do you become a more well-rounded player? I think L's excited to play around pieces that he feels like he can deliver the basketball to, and guys can either catch and shoot or make plays. And so, his growth of growing into more of a true point guard, I think, is something that he wanted. And something that, that we want. And look, his Louisville experience was great for him as well, because, he played a lot of minutes. So when a player gets to experience all those minutes, and you do some things that are really great, and you do some things that you want to work on, and you do some things that maybe helped your team, and then some other things that maybe, you got to get better at to help your team. I think that Louisville experience of getting all those minutes in such a great league for him is really, really beneficial.
We saw a little bit earlier, Tremont got put on the Jerry West Award watch list. I don't feel like we've talked about him much this preseason, but what have your thoughts been on him and just how important will his play, I guess, defensively be against Purdue's backcourt?
Yeah, T-Mark's aggressive, physical, confident, played for a great coach in Kelvin Sampson, probably, as good a defensive program in the country. Their defensive schemes are a little bit different than ours. So I think that he's still in a growing, learning, development stage of how we want to play team defense. But I think as an individual defender, he's as good as anybody in the country. We feel like he can rebound a little bit more than he has in the small sample size that we have so far. But really, really excited about the offensive growth that we've seen throughout the course of the summer as well. I think he's a much improved shooter based on his individual player development stuff that he's done on his own since the time he got on campus.
Bob, final questions before we get coach down to practice? Yeah, Eric, in your college experience, have you faced a guy like Edey, or do you have to go back to your NBA days, or is there somebody you could compare him to you faced in the past?
We've gone back to some of the notes that we used when we played against Shaquille O'Neal. To be honest, I did pull out some of the old scouting reports just because of, the crowd that you want Edey to play in. Meaning, the 5 guys on the floor, how are you going to make him feel a little bit of pressure? You've got to obviously have more than just a plan A to defend his post-up game, to defend his high-low game. He does a great job of like faking like he's going to go set a screen or receive a screen and then get a lob pass. And actually, one of our players sent clips of that, which really was a huge positive to have one of our returners pull some clips and send it to our coaching staff. That means that they're studying on their own. You know, are we going to trap him? Are we going to dig off of him? Are we going to? It's hard to front Edey because he'll post up right in the middle of the floor instead of the right block or the left block. And when a player posts up right in the middle of the floor, causes a little bit more problem, you know, than just a guy on one side of the floor. So how are you going to do that? And the three players that are not guarding the passer and not guarding the post player, how are those three players, where are they going to be positioned on the floor to either A, help on Edey's catch, or B, stay attached to some great shooters, you know, who have proven they got great range from 3-point land. And we haven't even talked about a guy like 25 Morton and the way that he's improved as a player for Purdue.
Anything you want to say about, I know it's next year, but they announced the San Diego tournament.
Very, very, very excited about that opportunity to play in San Diego. When you think about the teams that are going to be there, great field, super excited. I'll be able to see my mom, that my mom will be able to have the team over to her house for a good meal. And I'm kind of excited to show the guys, like, hey, this is where I grew up. This is the outdoor court that I played on. You know, here's the beach that we used to go surf on. So I'm completely excited about going to San Diego. We've had some good weather MTAs when you look at, you know, Maui and Nassau, Bahamas, and San Diego. That's, I'd say 3 for 3 wise for our fans that travel with us and stuff on these things, because we have a lot of people going to the Bahamas that went to Hawaii, and hopefully we'll have a good group in San Diego. That's 3 pretty good destination spots to go watch some basketball. Now we got to get the media members to come to these spots.
Thanks,
I'm just saying.